Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today for 5 Money Questions for Women. NWIIWA is presenting this educational seminar that Gina Ribota is going to be presenting for us today. We appreciate you all joining us. It would be much more fun if we could be together in person, but this is just as good. So just to explain a little bit, NWIIWA is doing this. If you're not familiar with NWIIWA, NWIIWA is the leading professional development organization here in Northwest Indiana for women. We provide educational opportunities, networking opportunities, and do many different events throughout the year. Our landmark event is the Northwest Indiana Influential Women's Banquet. Coming up this year will be our 10th anniversary. It's September 30th, 2021. And if you're interested in coming, please get your tickets ahead of time because this event sells out early every single year. We would love to see you there. If you're interested in joining NWIIWA or finding out more information or just getting more involved if you're already a member, go to our website at NWIIWA.org. You can get more information on our events, our programs, and our committees if you want to get more involved. If we can go to the next slide, we're going to be using GoToWebinar. If anyone is not familiar with GoToWebinar, you're automatically in muted mode, so you don't have to worry about any of your sound filtering through in the background. Periodically throughout the webinar, Gina may ask a few questions, and if you want to participate, you can type in your questions at the lower part on the module you see on your right, and then hit send. We will receive those, as well as if you have any questions for Gina throughout the interview or throughout the presentation, we will be doing a live Q&A with her at the end, and we will try to get through as many of those questions as possible. At the end of the webinar, you will be receiving a survey. It'll pop up, and we would appreciate any feedback you can provide us. If you don't fill it out on GoToWebinar's platform, you'll also be emailed the same survey. And so we just want your feedback, want your ideas, so that we are creating content around what our members want and what they want to hear, what they need, how we can better support them in their careers and in their lives. So give us your ideas because we'll create programs around it. Now to the main attraction. Gina is going to take it from here, and she'll be presenting 5 money questions for women. Thanks for joining.
Okay. Hello and good morning. My name is Gina Ribota. I'm a financial advisor with Edward Jones. I became a financial advisor because I have a passion for investing and helping people meet their financial goals. This is a big reason why I would like to present to you today to help you become more educated investors. The part of my job that I enjoy the most is helping my clients meet those financial goals. It is an opportunity to change lives, and to accomplish that, I truly need to know who my clients are and what's important to them in order to achieve those goals. Before we get started, I just wanted to make sure that everybody had an opportunity to print out the workbook. So it is a participant workbook. I think it's a great tool that we're going to be referring to throughout the webinar. There's lots of questions we will go through. So this is going to definitely help complement the seminar today. So before we jump in, there are some facts that I wanted to share with you as women. 54% are primary breadwinners. 61% earn associate's degrees, and 58% earn bachelor degrees. Women also earn 58% of master's and 53% of all doctorate degrees. Between the years of 2014 and 2019, the number of women-owned businesses increased by 2.3 on the national average. The reason why I bring these statements and facts to you is because I think it's important for us to know that we as women and what financial impact that we have within ourselves and our communities. But there is a big gap because 52% of women say they're confident in their ability to manage investments compared to a 68% of men who feel confident. And the reason is because 60% of women feel that they lack the knowledge to invest is the number one barrier. So that's why these 5 money questions for women is a crucial start to the beginning of that financial future. So as you know, in an ever-changing world, technology is finding new ways for us to connect, communicate, and live longer. Although that's exciting, it can kind of be overwhelming, especially when we look at all the wealth of information in the financial sector of the website and all the information that's available to us. And there are some unique challenges and opportunities that us as women when it comes to investing. So today I want to be able to cut through that financial noise, and you'll leave here hopefully with feeling a little bit better about your financial direction. So what I would like to do is to get started with playing a quick game of fact or fiction. And if you go to your participant workbook, that is going to be on page 3. So feel free to just jot down your answers as we go through the statements. So the first statement is, as part of our discussion today, I'm going to share with you 5 financial questions that we need to ask ourselves in order to connect to our financial goals. The first step is that we'll need to discuss in detail, as I will in a few moments, to evaluate where we are at today. So in other words, it's difficult to determine our financial goals, a strategy to pursue them, and whether the strategy is achievable if we don't understand where we're at today. With that being said, here's the first statement. Nearly 60% of working individuals have calculated how much they'll need for retirement. Do you feel that statement is fact or fiction? When we look at statement number 2, let's touch on another part of the 5-step questions that we're going to review today when we talk about controlling your financial life. The strategy, women have a number of unique considerations in determining an effective strategy to work towards their goals. For example, historically, many women have left the workforce to care for young children or aging parents. With that being said, here's the second statement. Women are about 3 times as likely as men to report that they have quit a job to care for a family member. Do you feel that statement is true or false? And don't be shy if you want to put in on the chat if you feel that's true or false. Feel free to do that. It'd be fun to see where we think we're at with that. Now we're going to go to our last statement. Things change. That's important. That's why it's important to revisit your strategy frequently or at least regularly in order to keep track with your financial goals. So with the last statement, nearly 60% of women will be solely responsible for their finances at some point in their lives. Do you feel that that statement is fact or fiction? Okay, so let's talk about which ones are fact and which ones are fiction. So if we go to the first statement, nearly 60% of women, of working individuals have calculated how much they'll need for retirement. That is actually fiction. less than half of working individuals, which is 38% to be exact, have actually calculated how much they'll need for retirement. So if you don't have a well-defined goal, it makes it much more challenging to work towards it. That's why we recommend setting up a goal, which we refer to as a SMART goal. I'm sure we've heard of that before. So we'll talk more about that in a bit. So if we look at the second fact or fiction statement, women are about 3 times as likely as men to report that they have to quit a job to care for a family member. This one is actually fact. This may be a challenging dynamic for families in today's society. However, historically, this time away from the workforce may have resulted in women accumulating less money towards retirement or other financial goals. And yet another reason why we need to come up with an effective strategy. Let's take a look at our last statement. Nearly 60% of women will be solely responsible for their finances at some point in their lives. This is actually fiction. That number is actually 80 to 90% of women will be solely responsible for their finances. The two main reasons that we look at is because women live longer. On average, women live 5 years longer than men. And unfortunately, divorce. Today, the divorce rate is about 14%. But even more concerning is the rising trend of what's so-called gray divorce, meaning that among US adults at the ages of 50 or older, the divorce rate increases and actually doubles since the 1990s. So gray divorces tend to be less financially secure than married and widowed adults, particularly women. So these facts start to illustrate for us the important things that we need to consider to open those conversations up today. One of the reasons some people don't start putting their financial strategy in place is because it can be overwhelming. And if you feel that way, you are not alone. By joining us today, you're going to take the right step in the right direction. I want you to remember this amongst everything else today is you don't want to wait until you're forced to take responsibility for your financial future. So putting off thinking about and making decisions about your long-term goal is essentially giving up that control. This discussion today is designed to help you get started. So hopefully you'll walk away with the knowledge that help is out there, and that even though the financial world can seem a little daunting, there are steps that you can take to cut through that clutter. So let's get started digging in with the 5 financial questions to connect with your financial goal. So you'll actually see that on page 4 of your workbook, these are the 5 questions that we like to ask to connect with your financial goal. Though your needs and your needs of the person next to you may be different, we use the same 5 questions as a part of our established 5-step process. This can help you define your long-term goals and build a strategy by understanding some of the concerns that you'll need to consider. And you'll be better positioned to build and adjust the strategy over time. So we'll discuss these questions in detail, but here's how they're related. To have a clear outlook of your future, the first step is to evaluate where are you at today. This will help begin to set a clear perspective in regards to where you're at now. When your goals are determined, it's time for a reality check. And we want to make sure that you are better equipped to determine that strategy. A trusted advisor can help you decide what tools and strategies can help to work towards your goals. Knowing more about the tools and strategies available can help you become more informed decisions when you're where your money is going and what you're doing for, and what the money is doing for you. The last step is staying on track periodically, evaluating where you're at, whether you've reached your goal or you have new goals to achieve. Is your current strategy working for you, or can you make adjustments? Are there any questions so far? Okay, if not, let's jump into the first step. Okay, the step one is, where am I at today? This is the first of the 5 questions. So in other words, it's understanding your current financial situation. And by doing so, it's taking a look at your overall financial picture. The best analogy would be like the GPS on your phone or in your car. If you're looking for directions to get where you need to be, you have to know where the starting point is. And the more precise that you can be about your location and your destination, the more likely the device will be able to give you the directions that you need. So knowing where you're at today is pretty crucial. So to help you define where your starting point is, on page 5 of your workbook it's a little quiz, and it's about 8 questions. So I'm going to give you 1 minute to look through these 8 questions to determine where you are at today. And they are true and false, so it'll be pretty quick. Okay, thank you so much for taking a moment to take that short quiz. If you answered false to any of those questions, you can use this as an action item during this process. It'll give you an idea of what information that we need to focus in on to ensure that we can convert those false statements to truth statements. Okay, question number 2, where would I like to be? Now that you have a look at your monthly budget, you need to understand your current financial situation and where the money comes from. Now we need to decide what you want your money to do for you. In doing so, we like to answer the question where you would like to be. It really centers around your values and goals. So to kind of get an understanding in regards to the values and goals, the goal is, knowing what you want, and the value is why that's important to you. Values are about beliefs, and they should drive your goals. So goals are tangible things and experiences that carries a specific monetary value. For instance, a goal may be paying down debt, buying a house, or traveling. Values, on the other hand, are intangible and don't have specific money value, like freedom, security, making a difference. A deeper understanding of your beliefs will help you make your decisions about your long-term goals. So if we go to page 6 of your workbook, we're able to connect a little bit to what your specific values and goals are. Because at this stage in life, you may feel like you don't know what the future holds, and that's okay. We may not know how much we'll need in retirement or what you want to do in retirement, or retirement may be in the next few years. So having that important discussion in regards to your values and your goals will help put things into motion. So on page 6 of the workbook, you'll find some examples of common values and goals. This exercise is important because it defines what you imagine what your life will be. What's important to you? Those values should serve as a foundation of your financial roadmap. So imagine life when all your financial goals are met. What does that look like? How do you feel? What words would you use to describe your perfect life? So on page 6, feel free to jot a couple of those values and goals that you have in mind, that comes to mind for us to revisit with you. Once we have identified your values, we can start to break down your specific goals. Everyone has different variables to consider for them to pursue their individual financial goals. And though this is the case, we do see some common primary financial needs that tend to rise to the top, like preparing for retirement, living in retirement, paying for education, whether it's your child or grandchild, planning for the unexpected, such as a job loss, a disability, or other emergency that may arise, and planning your estate or inheritance. Some of these goals may sound familiar to you. So let's give an example. We have somebody by the name of Denise. We'll talk about her situation and several of her goals and why they're important to her. But keep in mind, this is for illustration purposes only. So here's a little background about Denise. She is the oldest of 3 children. Her personal responsibility and self-reliance have always been very important to her and are crucial values that she adheres to. She has a passion for helping others find their passion. As a result, she's worked to build a successful career in human resources. She married in her 20s, but her husband and her grew apart, so by her 30s, they had decided to divorce. She recently remarried and transitioned jobs. So as Denise's life changed, her goals evolved as well. And her goals have consistently helped drive, and her values have consistently helped drive her goals. We'll talk about that more in depth on our conversation as our conversation continues. Let's look back, though, at the beginning. Denise's situation is to understand one of her financial goals, and that was to build an emergency fund. When Denise was in her mid-20s, she read a lot from financial experts that recommending having an emergency fund with at least 6 months worth of living expenses was step number 1. So over a period of several years, she established an emergency fund and then worked towards other financial goals. Then Denise asked herself, can I get there? Once you know where you are and where you want to be, the next question to ask yourself is, can I get there? So keeping in mind with Denise's emergency goal of $6,000, she asked herself, can I get there? One of the best ways to help answer that question is to make sure your goals that you determined are SMART goals. And on page 7 of your workbook, it outlines what we're all familiar with is the SMART goal. S standing for specific. Is your goal specific? What exactly am I going to do? So when we talk about Denise, having that $6,000 emergency fund was specific and important to her. So that way she has a better idea of what she can afford, should something arise. M stands for measurable. How am I going to measure this goal? Rather than putting away random amounts in the emergency goal, Denise had a specific target of $6,000. A is achievable. Is it possible considering my situation? For Denise, in order for her to meet that $6,000 goal, she decided contributing $350 a month was doable. She knew that if she would put more money away, she could achieve her goal faster, but she wanted to ensure that it was achievable for her. R is relevant. Will it lead to a meaningful result? Setting aside money each month directly impacts her feeling financially secure, which reflects on her values. And T, is it time framed? Denise knows that if she saves $350 a month, she will achieve that $6,000 goal in 18 months. Now we're going to turn to question number 4. How will I get there? It is more than just developing a strategy. It's about putting the strategy into action. There are few guarantees when it comes to life, but one thing that we can be sure of is that if you never start working towards your goal, you won't achieve them. So making sure that we put the plan to work, and we need to plan the work, but then also work the plan. So your overall strategy should help you plan for the unexpected, which means, understanding the concerns associated with your goals, taking the steps to work towards your goal, and learning ways to be able to balance multiple goals. Preparing for the unexpected. Sometimes life can derail us, and making sure that we have a plan in place for that. And then positioning for both, by addressing both the expected and the unexpected while balancing the potential issues and trade-offs. So why is it so important to get started sooner rather than later? The reason is that time plays a crucial role towards your financial goal. So on the next slide, this is a common rule of thumb in investing. It's called the rule of 72. This is an easy calculation. The rule of 72 is a general investment rule of thumb that assumes that the investment's principal value and the rate of return remain constant, and that all interest and or dividends are reinvested annually at that same rate of return. So if we turn to page 8 of your workbook, it gives us a couple examples of how we can use the rule of 72. So here's how it works. This rule tells us how long it will take for our money to double. So if we divide 72 by the rate of return, the number that we get equals the appropriate number of years it takes to double your money. So on page 8 of your workbook will help illustrate those tools. If your rate of return on any investment is 4, we can quickly figure out how long it will take to double. So we'll divide 72 by 4 and get 18. It works the same way if we're trying to figure out what rate of return we need given over a certain time frame. So if you know that you have 12 years to reach a goal, whatever that goal may be, and you need to double your money during that period, what does the rate of return need to be? So we would take 72 and divide it by 12, and 6% is what our rate of return would need to be in order for our money to double. So let's visit Denise for a moment. A few later after our last visit, she got a new job, and she's doing very well financially. And she has some exciting news. She remarried. So her and Paul's 6-year-old daughter, Bree, are now the center of her life. She's thinking about her financial goals again and realizes that Bree is going to be headed off to college soon. So Denise and Bree need to determine what that financial goal for their college for Bree would look like. So we're going to use the rule of 72 again. Let's say Bree will start college in 12 years. And let's say Denise and Paul have half the money that they need to meet their goal. So we would need to take 72 divided by 12, which is 6%. So Denise would need to have the rate of return of 6% on her money in order for that to double. So the more aggressive that you are, you can determine if we take it to 12%, then you would achieve your goal rather quickly. So in terms of saving towards a goal, there are a number of ways to get started, and there are lots of tools that we can consider. One of them is what's called a disciplined approach. So that means, paying yourself first. I know we've heard that so many times, but paying yourself first is a great way to get started. We're also disciplined to ensuring that we pay our mortgage or rent, our car payment. We never let those go without. And that's how we have to consider our savings account as well as saving for whatever financial goal that you have. So ensuring that you are one of those bills to ensure that we put money away once a month. With systematic investing, that is what is referred to as when we have the money automatically transferred into that account towards that goal. This strategy of investing a manageable amount regularly is called systematic investing. So when we talk about systematic investing, we talk about 4 C's, and those are on page 9 of your workbook. So we're going to visit what those 4 C's stand for. In terms of convenience, systematic investing helps you get started by making your investment automatic. The second C is consistently. You are accumulating consistently and steadily, regardless of market movement. So we're putting that money in no matter what. This helps take the emotion out of investing and eliminates the worry of trying to time the market. The third C with the system reinvesting investing program, you have a choice to invest in mutual funds, annuities, and individual stocks. The last part of systematic investing involves control, investing a set dollar amount on a regular basis rather than on what you can't, volatility in the market. Systematically investing can't guarantee profit or protect you against loss, but it can make you feel more disciplined about your financial strategy. Another one of your financial goals while preparing for retirement is important to consider is the employee-sponsored retirement plans. Many of these employee-sponsored plans can be 401ks, 403bs, or 457bs. So taking the time and looking, am I contributing? How much am I contributing? Because first, if your employer offers a retirement plan, make sure you're taking advantage of it. It's a good idea to see what your employer will match. And if they match that your contribution or any percentage of your contribution, that's definitely something that we want to take advantage of. Because if we don't, we're leaving free money on the table. Depending on your situation, you may want to consider other alternatives for the rest of your retirement dollars. So you don't only need to just put money away towards those employer-sponsored plans. There are other ways to save towards retirement. So even though we have those retirement plans, traditional and Roth IRAs are also both designed to help you save for retirement. But the different approaches also depend on the different opportunities that are available for tax advantage growth. There are 2 types that are very common, traditional and Roth. These allow you to invest your money in a variety of vehicles. You can select the investment mix that best suits your goal and your life stage. For example, you may choose investments for your IRA that are more oriented towards growth when you are younger. And as you approach retirement, however, you may start shifting to what's called an income focus. You may not want to be as aggressive with your retirement money. There are, however, differences between the Roth and traditional IRA. What's nice is, again, on your workbook on page 10, it kind of shows you the differences between both the traditional and the Roth. So let's talk a little bit about the Roth. The key advantage of a Roth IRA is that you can withdraw your earnings and penalty-free as long as you are 59 and a half and have held the Roth IRA for at least 5 years. Unfortunately, however, not everyone can contribute to a Roth because of the income limits. There are, however, no income limits if you choose to convert from a traditional to a Roth. The longer you can delay paying taxes, the better potential to accumulate more retirement savings. Although a traditional IRA doesn't offer a benefit of tax-free withdrawal, contributions of the traditional Roth IRA can be tax deductible depending on your income and whether you or your spouse is covered by an employer-sponsored retirement plan. These are just a few strategies that you can utilize to help reach your retirement savings goal. The right strategy for you will depend on many factors, such as income, your age, and what you plan on doing in retirement. But before deciding any of these options, you should discuss your situation with a financial advisor as well as a tax professional. The important thing to remember is to start now. If you think it costs you to save, consider how much it will cost if you wait. And on your workbook on page 11 allows you to see the differences between each stage limit by 3 years. So I think this is a great illustration for us to review on the cost of waiting. So let's return back to Paul and Denise once again. It's been a few years and they look at their goal of now preparing for retirement. So Bree is only a few ways, from going off to college, and Denise and Paul are getting close to meeting their goal to double the money they want to save up for her education. Denise and Paul are now in their 40s, and Denise keeps that budget worksheet up to date and decides to sit down with her financial advisor to talk about her vision of retirement. During the conversation, they determined that she will need to invest $5,500 per year into her IRA in order for her to reach her retirement goal. So deciding on when to retire, as well as when you started, funding towards your retirement, are all crucial factors that need to be considered when you look at your retirement planning. So Denise has many options to look at when working with her financial advisor. So the best strategy in the world does you no good if you never get started. The biggest mistake people make when it comes to investing is not getting started. So please don't make that mistake. And that leads us to question number 5. How can I stay on track? So once we have a strategy in place, reviewing it is probably the most important part of the whole process. For better or worse, life is full of surprises. Be diligent in your effort to update your budget worksheet and visit your financial advisor or your financial strategy often, as well as meeting with your financial advisor regularly. On page 4 of your workbook, we've covered a lot today. So we want to turn back to page 4 of your workbook to see the 5 questions to follow along. And with those 5 questions through our established process, the first is, where am I at today? Looking at your overall financial picture, looking at seeing where you're at. Being fully transparent is very crucial as well. So that includes your assets, your debts, your liabilities, your income, what you're currently contributing. And then moving to step number 2, where would I like to be? and we know that that's going to change, and that's okay, but at least having an idea to kind of get that conversation going, because we're going to spend a lot of years in our retirement, and doing what we enjoy is also equally important. And then step 3, can I get there? So now we know what the starting point is. We know where the finish line is. Now we have to decide, with the current contributions that I'm making, is it enough? What adjustments do I have to make? What sacrifices do I have to make? Are my goals realistic? So working with your financial advisor will be able to help you in that step 3 of, can I get there? And then step 4, how do I get there? Again, having that financial advisor and using the investment products that are available to us to ensure that we can make that possible for you and your financial goals. And then step number 5, how can I stay on track? Ensuring that you're meeting with your financial advisor annually to ensure that your portfolio is performing the way that it should. Are there any adjustments that need to be made based on the market conditions? What life events have occurred that may have caused us to derail, and what adjustments that we need to make. And then, are there any goals that we've created? Now that we've sat down and thought about it, are there additional goals that we need to include? So again, don't wait until you're forced to take the responsibility for your financial future. Putting off thinking about, and making decisions about your long-term goal is essentially giving up that control. So as you start thinking about your financial goals, looking at those 5 questions and taking time to evaluate them. And on page 12 of your workbook, that's going to talk about simple suggestions for things that you can do in the near term. I really like pages 12 and 13 because it kind of puts things in action. So specifically on page 13, it lets you know during the next 48 hours, commit some time, set aside time to review your household finances. Add a calendar reminder on your phone to kind of give yourself that end date. All right, the next 48 hours, I'm gonna accomplish the first step. And then during the next week, gather all your financial accounts and statements, collect all that information together. And then the next 2 weeks, complete the monthly budget worksheet. Now that you've compiled all that information together, actually putting it in one place is ideal. And then in the next month, schedule an appointment with a financial advisor to have that information translated, to set some realistic goals so that you can develop strategies that make sense for you. And then in the next 3 months, put those strategies into action. And then in a year, review that strategy to take on, that target to reach your goals, or make those adjustments that need to be made. And remember, the sooner you get started, the better. Okay, are there any questions for me at this time?
Hi, Gina. Thank you so much. We do have some questions that have come through. The first one is, what information would someone have to provide when meeting with you or a financial advisor?
That's a great question. So, going back into where am I at today, we want to take a look, to look at, your financial statements, liabilities, your mortgage statement, what debts you have outstanding, looking at all your income, as well as any, assets that you have, homes, rental properties, brokerage accounts, IRAs, old 401ks, things of that nature. So those are the information that we need to be able to take a full financial picture.
Okay. Another question we had is, what is the best way to save for a long-term goal, like saving for college for your kids or something like that? Or
Mhm.
what are some strategies to do that?
Sure, that's a great question. Knowing what that looks like, knowing what that cost will look like when that time comes, and working with a financial advisor, on how much of that cost are you wanting to put towards. Are you still open to having your child, have a student loan? How much of that cost are you wanting to contribute? And then also, is that realistic? We want to take a look at, where are you at with retirement? Are there other goals that are more important or impactful? So we want to make sure that we're taking a look at the overall financial, your overall financial goals to ensure that we're meeting all of them. So no, that's a great question.
Cool, thank you. Another one is, for those who are reluctant to share any of their personal information on their finances, what advice or direction can you give them on where they can go to become financially stable and achieve their goals that they want to achieve?
Sure, definitely. And I get that question a lot, quite honestly, because this is such a sensitive topic. It's very personable, and we feel vulnerable. So my suggestion for this particular individual is to don't go to any financial advisor. Go to one that you feel that you can trust, that you feel comfortable asking questions, to, and that you have a good connection with. That's so crucial, is to have that full transparency. So if it's not me, then that's okay. But to look for that financial advisor that you feel comfortable with. Because unfortunately, the only one that you're hurting by not being fully transparent, unfortunately, is you. So definitely feel free to interview and ask friends and family who they use, and find that one that you feel comfortable with.
Cool, thanks. Okay. How would someone go about, say they have no financial planning, they don't have anything started, not even a monthly budget? What tools would you recommend for someone getting started, even just with a monthly budget?
Sure, that's a great question. And to be quite honest, I know we went over the action plan of what to do the next 48 hours, what to do the next, week and month. That's what a financial planner is for. It's to help, not for you to feel so overwhelmed, and to help you in that process. So even if it is, creating that monthly budget, that's what we're here for. We're here to help you with any step that you feel that you need help with. And if it's that monthly budget, then that's what we're here for as well. Also, your local bank, if they hold your account with everything that goes in and out. So if you feel comfortable talking, with your local banker, I suggest that as well, because that's equally important too. So, but no, that's a financial advisor is there to help you strategize a monthly budget on necessities, what needs to be paid, so those fixed expenses, as well as those expenses that are not fixed, that are variable, and creating those realistic budgets.
Cool. Are there any tools that you recommend, as far as an app or a website or a budgeting tool that you like or you recommend?
So at Edward Jones, we do have our monthly budget, monthly budget worksheet that we work with our clients with. Also on my website, there is so many, tools and information and short videos that is available as well. There are several apps that are available, that you can, that are free apps that you can download right on your phone. Sometimes the local banks that, or banks that you bank with may also have those tools that you can incorporate. I know for us at Edward Jones, we're able to incorporate all of your financial information into the website. So when you log into the website, you're able to see your overall financial picture in one spot. And a lot of clients like that, so it's not so overwhelming. It's all consolidated into one area. I'm a big fan of financial calculators too, to help you decide if refinancing your car, your home is worth it, as well as the apps, too. So definitely our website, my website personally has a lot of those tools that you can use.
What is your website so people can?
So my website is www.edwardjones.com/Gina-Ribota.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
As far as debt versus savings, paying off debt or savings, do you recommend going after both of those at the same time, or one first and then the other?
That's a great question. So the first thing that we want to look at is, what type of, cost comes along with that debt, right? So what type of interest are we paying on that? But first and foremost, we want to make sure that you have an emergency savings established first. So unfortunately, that comes above that precedence overall. Because if you have a financial setback, then you are going to resort to your credit cards, or you're going to dip into your retirement money. So if we have that emergency fund established first, then we know if we need funds, that's available. So that would be kind of my rule of thumb, number one. And then once we look at specifically the debt versus savings, it really matters. It really depends on how much debt we have and what their financial goal is. If their financial goal is to get out of debt, that's something that they, can't sleep at night about, then we'll definitely take that into consideration. Also to the age of the individual. If it's somebody that's, younger and has time to, to save for retirement versus somebody who's older and closer to retirement. So each individual has their own unique situation. So talking with a financial advisor about your unique situation would be the best advice that I can give.
Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's all we have today. Thank you so much, Gina. This was great. I hope everyone was able to get educated and get more information and better guidance on their finances and where they're headed. For it. If you have any other questions, you can reach out to Gina, or she can follow up after this for anyone who wants to talk to her about their financial situation. So as far as NWIIWA goes, we have a new YouTube channel that we will be launching. It will include this webinar as well as additional webinars that we're going to be doing and additional videos that we're going to be coming out with. We have a lot of new programs that we're really excited about, that we want to empower you, we want to help you, we want to support you, and we encourage you to follow us along on all of our social media channels, so Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. That's the place where you can get the most up-to-date information about NWIIWA, what we have going on, and events and webinars that you might want to be a part of or participate in. My name is Stephanie. I'm new to NWIIWA. I've met some of you, but not all of you. You can also email me directly if you have any questions about the organization. Otherwise, we appreciate you all participating. Thank you so much for coming, and we hope that you received value out of this. So have a good day, everyone. Thank you.